4 games remain in the 2025 NFL season for the Dallas Cowboys as they fall to 6-1 with a 44-30 defeat at the hands of the Detroit Lions. Welcome in to Cowboys Update from the Star in Frisco. I'm your host, Kyle Youmans. Let's take a look back at the Cowboys' Thursday Night Football loss. It was the 15th straight game for the Detroit Lions to win following a loss of their own. Of course, they lost on Thanksgiving against the Green Bay Packers. They rebounded in a big way. Jared Goff and company doing their job. A couple of penalty flags going against the Cowboys late as they tried to erase what was once a 27-9 deficit early in that football game. It ultimately was not enough as Dak Prescott and company fall short and they go back to 500. Coach Schottenheimer talked about it earlier in the week. You got to control what you can control from this point forward.
Yeah, control what we can control. Win. Stay in the moment. And can't control what anybody else does, but you can control the way you process and prep. And you can't win unless you win on Wednesday, in the meetings and then leading to practice. And that's the only way I know how to do it.
Here's a look at the box score from that Week 14 loss to the Detroit Lions. Dak Prescott and company still finishing with 300 yards or more. He actually leads the NFL in 300-yard passing games this season, but he had a couple of interceptions, one off of a drop and then one in the late parts of the football game when he was trying to force it into a tight window. The Cowboys' playoff chances go from 42% with a win down to just 6% with the loss. Part of the reason the Cowboys lost was they could not contain the Detroit pass rushers. 5 sacks on the day, including 3 from Quaheen Muhammad, who was once a Dallas Cowboy training camp prospect as well. Dak Prescott was under siege. 20 total pressures in the matchup for the Detroit Lions. Dak talked about it. This is a tough stretch of the schedule, and the Cowboys got to do better going into the final month of the regular season.
I don't think that's something I've truly got to make sure of. Shotty does a hell of a job with the messaging, controlling the temperature of this team. We've got great veteran leaders. I think guys are pissed off right now. I don't think this is any deflated moment like, oh, hands are up, we're done. You know what I mean? No, absolutely not. I think you're going to get a team that's pissed, especially as we talked about, right? A team that's kind of changed since the bye week. This is the first time this group, to an extent, suffered this. So I hope it pisses people off the right way. We use it as fuel, and I know, starting with myself, we'll make sure we have a great week of prep for next week.
Turnovers were a big part of that loss for the Cowboys, as I mentioned earlier. The 2 interceptions from Dak Prescott and then a big fumble from Jake Ferguson as Dallas was looking to answer an early score from the Lions. Those 3 turnovers helped them lose the turnover battle, and it was the first time since the bye week that they've lost it by multiple turnovers. Plus, they also lost a big weapon on that offensive side of the ball. Early in that football game, CeeDee Lamb exited with a concussion in the second quarter. He goes through concussion protocol this week, still very much so questionable after the mini bye, recovering before the Minnesota Vikings game coming up on Sunday Night Football. Without Lamb in the fold, who had over 100 yards receiving in the first half, the Dallas offense took really the entire third quarter to find their rhythm before in the fourth they started to make a push to make that score look a little bit better than it was initially. Let's flip to the defensive side of things as the Cowboys allow a season-high tying 44 points. Part of that was because of the turnovers. The Lions finished with 14 points off of turnovers in those short fields, plus special teams didn't help out the defense at all, as the Lions had a average starting field position going into their final drive of the fourth quarter of their own 42-yard line, which means they only had 58 yards to go in order to score and put points on the board. Plus, Jahmyr Gibbs tallied 3 touchdowns. David Montgomery also had a touchdown as Sonic and Knuckles, that duo in the backfield for the Detroit Lions, certainly did their job to take down the Cowboys defense. Quinnen Williams talking about how they have some defensive ability. They got to continue to push forward.
Like you said, I got to watch the film. But as a defense, man, we way better than 44 points. Man, we got a great defense, got a great defensive line, and we just got to do our job to the best of our ability and execute to the best of our ability and just make more plays, especially in that defensive line room. So, because we got the ability to do it. So.
They struggled in the passing game as well as the run defense. Amon-Ra St. Brown and of course, you talk about what Williams did as well. Both of those guys ended up with fantastic numbers. Jared Goff went 25 of 34 passing, 310 passing yards, passing touchdown as well, and he didn't even have Sam Laporta to add to the weaponry with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams on the outside as well. So with all that being said, the Cowboys having to rely on some youth in the secondary, guys like Savone Revel getting some extra playing time, even Reddy Stewart as well playing at the nickel spot. Both those guys were challenged in Week 14. They may be challenged again this week with Trayvon Diggs coming back from injury and also Kalen Carson dealing with some ailments as well. The Cowboys turn their attention now to Week 15, and it's coming off of that mini bye week, a chance to try and get healthy as they take on the Minnesota Vikings at AT&T Stadium this week. And ultimately, this is a Vikings team that has not played well over the last month and a half, but they did have a shutout in Week 14, taking down the Washington Commanders. 31-0 was the final score in that one, ending a 4-game losing streak with the beatdown of the Commanders. Minnesota currently last place in a very tough division in the NFC North that, of course, features the Chicago Bears, the Detroit Lions, and the Green Bay Packers. They've kind of been the punching bag of that division. Plus, the quarterback cycle has hindered some of their offensive weapons like Justin Jefferson and like Jordan Addison on the outside of that Vikings offense, except for in Week 14 when they've had a lot of success against that Washington Commanders defense. Justin Jefferson averaging season lows in almost every major category: receptions per game, yards per game, scores, and all sorts of elements along the way. So Justin Jefferson trying to take his game to the next level despite who's at quarterback, possibly J.J. McCarthy going into this matchup with the Cowboys. My key in this one, you got to force some early turnovers. That's been the biggest key. They lost that Detroit Lions game because of some early turnovers. Why not try and force them against a quarterback like J.J. McCarthy, anticipating that he is the starter for the Vikings? If they're able to get him in some trouble and get some extra possessions, that's ultimately how the Cowboys are going to win that game at home at AT&T Stadium in Week 15. We've got more coverage coming your way throughout the week on DallasCowboys.com. You can download the Cowboys Now app on your Apple TV, Roku, and Fire TV as well. All sorts of content like podcasts, like TV shows. Here are the podcasts that you can take a look at as well, starting every day, Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. all the way into the afternoon. All sorts of different options for your taste of podcasts. Plus, the Cowboys pregame live show gets started at 6 o'clock Central Time, live from AT&T Stadium this week as the Vikings come to town for Sunday Night Football. You can catch myself alongside Isaiah Stanback, Barry Church, Nate Newton, and Nicole Hutchison for that one. Can't wait to see you on Sunday night as the Cowboys welcome in the Vikings. That's going to do it for us here for Cowboys Update from the Star in Frisco with the Ford Center behind me. I'm your host, Kyle Youmans. We'll see you next week.